And good morning, everybody. You know what time it is? It is time for Tuesday Talk. I am Flyboy, and it is Tuesday, August 19th, 10 a.m., and it is time for the Tuesday Talk. Today is going to be a good one. We have he doesn't like to be called a hero of the battle. The heroes are the ones that didn't make it home. Oop, forgot to mute the other side here. All right, we got the other side muted, so we're good to go. Hey, he was in the battle for Cobb Keating. Many of you might know about that. It was October 2009, Battle of Kamdesh. He was there, one of the most highly decorated battles of Afghanistan. We'll be talking with Matt Miller here in a little bit with Team FASTRAX and Blue Skies for the good guys and gals. But first, I got to get a little sip of my Saturday Java coffee. Thank you, Saturday Java Coffee Company, for this batch of coffee this morning. This is Jason's blend, and still the same stuff from the last time. So hey, good stuff, man. I'm on my third cup already this morning. So check out Saturday Java Company right down there at the bottom. You see it right there. They're new supporter, new coffee company, small batch stuff out of Jersey, I believe it is. So give them a look. Buy a pound. They donate back to Save 22. Win-win for everybody. Hey, so this past weekend we were at Atwood Lake here in Ohio. We were the charity of choice, I guess, for the beer garden for their music festival. We got to sit around with Jackson Dean and a couple other artists. Had about 2,500 people there this weekend. I want to thank each and every one of you for being there this weekend. Excuse me, real quick. And we were able to connect with over 2,500 people this weekend, and about 25 to 30 got some information on Save 22, and three individuals actually expressed hope after talking to us. So that was a really great weekend. We can't thank the Leatherneck Nation enough for manning the beer tent for us this weekend. Kudos to them and all the volunteers that came out from Atwood to help out. Tim Arnold, president of the local Leatherneck MC here, Madu's chapter. Thanks for putting that together for us. And a big shout out to his wife, Danny, this morning. She was involved in a little bit of a tussle in the Dunkin' Donuts parking lot this morning. So, hey, remember, Danny, there is no testimony without the test. All right, that's for you, Danny. So, hey, we're going to get right into Matt here. I'm going to talk a little bit about his bio real quick before I bring him down in. He is a Ohioan, born and raised near Dayton, Ohio, lifelong Bengals fan. Sorry. He is a husband and a father. He has been married for 15 years, two kids, and he joined the Army in February of 2006, initially as a combat engineer. He was reclassed during basic training to a forward observer, completed his AIT at Fort Sill, then Airborne School stationed with the 82nd, deployed to Afghanistan in 2007. Re-enlisted after that first deployment. He had his duty station of choice, and for some reason, he chose Fort Carson, Colorado. So during that time, he was assigned to 1st Brigade, 4th ID. That is a whole story in itself. His words, not mine. Late in 2009, he volunteered to go back to Afghanistan. He ended up with 4th Brigade, 4th ID, and assigned to the 360. I'm sorry, the 3rd of the 61st. That is the Cav Red Platoon. And if you have been around anytime, Red Platoon is the story of Clint Romisha. He's one of the two Medals of Honor winners from that battle. And Matt was unfortunate or fortunate enough to be stationed there just about 48 hours prior to that battle. They lost 8 heroes that day, 24 wounded, 37 Bronze Stars with Valor, 27 Purple Hearts, 2 Medals of Honor, and I believe that is the most decorated unit of Afghanistan. Due to his injuries, unfortunately, he was medically retired out of the Army in 2011. He became a paramedic for the state of New York and a deputy chief at the volunteer fire department. I met him about a month ago at Lex June's. I'm sorry, not at Lex June's, at the IHRA Milan Dragway, Dorano Raceway, now in Milan, Michigan. And it ended up being Lex's first IHR win, first win in the U.S. It was an incredible time. We got some pictures, some rain delays, the whole 9 yards. And as soon as I can find my button to click correctly, I will bring Matt in. And there's Matt right there. Team Fast Tracks. Matt, thanks for joining us today, buddy. I know you said that you are super excited. I hope I didn't over intro you there, and everything's all good with you right now this
Yeah,
morning.
yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me on, John. This is, I've been looking forward to it ever since I met you. That's what I texted you today, and so I'm ready to get going.
Hey, I want everybody to know too, this is only his second live interview ever, and the first one was done after a round of bourbon tasting. Let's put it that way. We'll just call it that with a bunch of bros. So, Matt, again, thanks for taking the time. I know the kids are going back to school, so you got a little bit of free time now. So thanks for doing that. I wanted to start off with the military and your choice to join back in 2006. Um, it was obviously after 9/11. I joined way back in the 90s, right? Prior to any of that action. You knew the action was going on, and yet you still chose to go do it. And I'm curious as to why. What drove you? Was there a family history? Was it a call to serve? Did you want the excitement? Like, what was it?
It was a little bit of all of it. Definitely family history. But I always kind of had that sense that I wanted to join the military when I was young. So I enlisted in 2006, and I shocked my mom, and you know, I wanted to make it a career.
I lost you for a second. You froze up. You
Can you hear
there?
me?
Yep, yep, yep.
All
So
right.
what was your reasoning again? I
No,
got
you're fine.
locked up. I hit the wrong button.
So yeah, I mean, it was a sense of purpose. A family history of veterans in my family, and it was just something I wanted to do even when I was a young kid.
Were you a Cowboys and Indians war fighter, army play kind of guy? Were you a war movie kind of guy, or did you play sports? Were you a competitive individual, or
Yeah, I played high school football and basketball during my high school years, but you know. It was just more of wanting to kind of have a sense of purpose, and it was my escape from Dayton. At the time, I hated Dayton. I hated Ohio.
right?
It's like, all right, here's my ticket out of Ohio.
Yeah, yeah. I think a lot of us feel that way. It's not that we're born into a bad situation. It's just not for us. We got to go somewhere, right?
Right.
We got to do something a little more. It wasn't exciting to us. Um, you talked about being reclassed real quick, and for those that don't know what that means that you started off with an idea of what job you were going to do, and then while you're sitting there at basic training, they say, "Nope, we don't have that job. You got to do something else." So, talk about that real quick and what happened and what went down afterwards.
Yep. So I initially enlisted to be a 21 Bravo combat engineer, which is reclassed now to a 12 Bravo. Um, and so I think it was 7 or 8 weeks into my basic training. Um, you know, there was myself and a handful of others, and we all got called to the front of the formation. And I'm like, what the hell did we do now? Like, we're all going to get
Yeah,
dog
yeah,
smoked. And,
yep.
um, you know, but they called, I want to say probably 10 to 15 of us up, and, they started saying our names, and they're like, Miller, you're going to Fort Sill, Oklahoma, critical MOS 13 Foxtrot. I had no idea what that was, and so I finished basic training, and so I was supposed to do OSET, one station unit training at Fort Lost in the Woods, Missouri. But then I got shipped down to Fort Sill, Oklahoma in the middle of summer, and completed my 13 Foxtrot training. And then I went and did airborne school.
What was airborne school like for you? Had you ever considered even jumping out of an airplane prior to that?
No, absolutely not. And so when I was joining the military, I've always wanted to do airborne school. It just looked cool, it sounded cool, and so I was fortunate enough to get it. And so I went down to Fort Benning, Georgia, completed my airborne school.
Yeah.
We did our 5 jumps that was mandatory. Um, and it's just it's it is what it is. It was a fun time, and the landing sucked.
Yep. Yep.
Especially during the combat loads, because you had 60 plus pounds more of equipment attached to you, and it's not like skydiving where you can steer with your parachute. You kind of just you're going with the wind, and you can land on soft grass, or you're going to land on pavement, or you're going to land in trees.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
not like our survival parachutes you know, when I went to survival school and parachute school and water survival and all that good stuff. We actually have four line in the back, and we can steer with our canopy. And those personnel chutes are drop.
Right.
You don't have any steering. You're at the mercy of the wind. You got to prepare and hope you get a good landing in because it's not going to be a fun one.
Nope. And we're only jumping from roughly 800 feet,
Yep.
maybe 1,000 feet at the most, depending on the mission. But all of the jumps that I did was roughly 800 feet.
Did you any active jumps, any live jumps, or all training jumps here in the States?
They were all training jumps here in the States.
You probably jumped out of one of my airplanes, bro. I did some time down there at Benning and took some guys out and let them throw them around. I've been all over in them C-130s, man. So that's pretty cool. Really exciting stuff. I can remember sitting back, and I was the engineer, so I'm sitting in the middle, and I had the green light. So when you're in a 130, you get the red light and then green light, and they go. And we were doing toy. It's not Toys for Tots. It's called Christmas Drop at Pope, and they bring in jumpers and airborne from all over the world and airplanes, and they load up all these chocks, and they bring all these people and they drop them into like Sicily and all those other LZs over there, and they're carrying toys and they give toys to the local community. Well, we're one of the first airplanes to go up, and this full bird female colonel is spot one, chalk one. She's gonna jump, and red light goes on. Everybody stands up, and I hear green light, and I hit the green light, and she is about a mile and a half off course, bro. She winds up in the trees, like just. I'm like, oh, dude, we're we're so screwed on this one.
Yeah, it was always the best. Like the jump master would poke his head out the door, and we'd get the signal that the winds were high, so we would do another racetrack. And not even 2 minutes later, they're saying we're good to go. I'm like, the winds didn't change that quick. Like, and so we jumping out, and, we're jumping in winds that we probably shouldn't have been jumping. And we have guys landing all over the drop zone, nowhere near the target.
Yep,
Um,
yep,
it happens, but,
it does.
it's all part
Yeah.
of the experience.
It's not a matter of the winds changing that fast. That's how long it took us to get the information that the winds had changed, and then they changed again, and it took us that much longer to get the winds again.
Right.
That's what goes on. I can't tell you how many times we've been in up there, and you guys don't get to hear it because you're in the back, no headsets, no anything. You don't get to talk to the DZ guy. You don't get to talk to the coordinators. You're just relying on us up in the airplane, the load master, the jump master, and you just go when they say go. So
Right.
I get it. You guys are just riding around waiting for that instruction to go. So, hey, let's talk about your first trip to Afghanistan. Was it everything that you had hoped to be, being the guy, like me, always wanting to be in the military, always wanting to go? I wanted to be a war fighter, right? I ended up in the Air Force, didn't get to fight the kind of war I thought I was going to fight, but it was still, 23 years worth. And I'm curious what your first exposure was to that. Like, was it everything you thought it would be? Was it more? Was it less? Tell me about
Um,
that.
you know, It was definitely less, because I'm going into Afghanistan in 2007, so about roughly 6 years after, the war started, and I get stationed in a very small remote fire base, and we didn't really take on the firefights that I thought we would. We're basically maintaining security for a village right outside of our base. Other than that, it wasn't too eventful. Um, Towards the tail end of our deployment, we went on a bullcrap mission that should never have happened. It was for higher ups. We were linking up with another platoon, kind of halfway in between my base and the main base, and we ended up taken one casualty that day, and that was my FO, Sergeant Gabriel Guzman.
FO being a
And
forward observer, so
yeah, forward
that's a
observer.
detachment to the unit that goes out and kind of observes and can call in air traffic and can call in air support and things like that. Correct? Talks back to the
Right.
squadron,
Yep.
things like that.
And so in 2008, we ended up losing Sergeant Gabriel Guzman to an IED attack. Um,
Excuse me. I tried to mute it. I didn't make it.
nope, it's all good. Um, you know, and and so that was like my first experience with, with losing somebody in a combat situation.
Sure. How'd that go? Tell me about that.
You know, it definitely weighs on you, and it definitely made you, think, what are we doing? Why are we here? But a lot of it fell on because it was a mission to, I don't even remember what rank the individual had, but it was a commanding officer of some sort that just wanted to go out and sightsee.
Oh
And
yeah.
so,
Oh yeah.
um, you know, Sergeant Gabriel Guzman is definitely, one of the guys that I always, that I looked up to when I first got to Afghanistan. He was my senior FO. He taught me a lot, and it was a tragic moment.
Did you feel any personal responsibility for his death at the time?
Absolutely not. Because he was coming down to meet up with us, so there was nothing that me or the guys that I was with, could have done.
Yeah. It
Reports
wasn't
indicate
with
that
you type deal.
no. And reports indicate that it was, an IED that was controlled by, a handheld unit. And we ended up getting the guy, and he's no
Took
longer on
care
the
of it.
face of the earth. Yeah,
Took care of it.
yeah.
Took care of it. Good. And how long was that deployment?
So that one was a 15-month deployment.
Wow. One
They had
KIA during that
they ended
whole
up,
time?
yep, and then it was originally scheduled for a 12-month deployment, and then they ended up getting the orders for an additional 3 months.
Right. Right. Well, that was a crazy time back then. We won't get into
Right.
all that. That was just dumb back then. That's all I can say to that one. I Let's move ahead a little bit because that's the real one that got you injured and put you down the path to where you are now. So you get out of Afghanistan in 2007. You're back. You choose Fort Carson, Colorado, and I gotta ask, why did you pick Fort Carson? What was the draw?
I always heard beautiful things about Fort Carson, and I've always wanted to go to Colorado. And so when I got there, it was truly amazing. Colorado Springs is located just at the base of the mountains. So 30 minutes, I could be lost in the mountains, or it was just beautiful, beautiful scenery.
Sure.
And at the time, I wanted to get away from the airborne unit. But as soon as I got to Fort Carson, I immediately regretted that decision.
Why is that?
Because you always hear the stories about, mechanized units being, I don't want to say lazy, but they believe in the motto "death before dismount." They don't walk, they don't march anywhere. They ride in vehicles, and so coming from a light infantry unit out of the 82nd Airborne, where we all we did was run. It was definitely a culture shock for me, and it seemed like the discipline wasn't as strict as the 82nd Airborne. The
Yeah.
82nd Airborne and the 101st, they date back, for
Long time.
years.
Long time.
Um, you know, and so when I got to Fort Carson, Colorado, I was still walking around with my maroon beret because I haven't been assigned to any specific unit. I was in reception. And so they assigned me to First Brigade, Fourth ID. And so I get to First Brigade, and come to find out, they're in the process of moving back from Fort Hood to Fort Carson. So I was on the rear detachment,
Going right
and
back to the same thing.
right back to the same thing. And now, I meet my first Sergeant Williams, and great guy. Um, but he's like, I'm going to make you, talking about me, I'm going to make you my clerk, his secretary, basically.
Oh,
I'm like, what? Like,
oh.
I belong out in the field. I belong out, doing, field stuff. I don't sit behind a desk. I don't work with Microsoft. I don't work with PowerPoint,
Wait, what was your
whatever.
rank at this time? What were you, E5?
I was a specialist.
So E4 special.
Yep, E4. And,
Okay.
so for about 4 or 5 months, I was doing, it was even longer than that because I got to Fort Carson in February of 2009. And so it wasn't until mid-August that I finally, got my ticket out of being in the First Brigade Rear Detachment Unit. And so initially, Fourth Brigade, Fourth ID was looking for volunteers, and they only wanted to take 11 Bravos at the time. And so obviously I couldn't go. And so then a couple weeks, maybe a month later, they came back down and said, anybody and everybody that wants to go back to Afghanistan, raise your hand. So I rose my hand to get out of the situation of
Wow.
being in the rear detachment unit. And so I deployed back to Afghanistan early September,
And Cobb Keating was attacked October 3rd, October 9th,
October 3rd,
October
2009.
3rd. And
So I get into
God,
Bagram Air Force Base sometime mid-September. They're still trying to figure out where I'm going and everything. And so late September, I get to Fob Bostic.
yep, yep.
And so once I get to Fob Bostic, I meet, you know, who I thought I was going to be stationed with in Afghanistan. And then all of a sudden I'm told, nope, you're going to go to Cop Keating. My flight out of Fob Bostic kept getting delayed because of Cop Keating being such a rural,
Oh, so bad.
isolated area.
I want to talk about
Um,
that real quick because
yep,
the situational, I'm sorry, the geographical placement of Cobb Keating, and we'll talk about it after we talk about the battle and getting out. It's a logistical nightmare. It is literally
absolutely.
sitting in a bowl surrounded by mountains.
Yes.
There's a river on one side, if I remember right. There's switchbacks out the other. There is
Yep.
I want to say sheer facing cliff, but I don't think that was correct. Your LZ is actually outside of your wire.
Correct.
You have to
Across the river.
across the river, across a
Right.
bridge, right? So air support and supplies is not easy to get to. There were actually, if I remember right, four officers that were reprimanded and removed to command after that battle. And I think it didn't
Correct.
come out until 2013, I think, is when they finally did the report and
Yep.
said it was operational error, right? Command failure of
Yep.
that place. So this is not an easily accessible fob for anybody to get in, and
No.
to defend it is nearly impossible. And these guys of Red Platoon and Blue Platoon did a phenomenal job doing it to only get out of there with what they got out of there with, but just a logistical nightmare. I started reading his book and right off the pictures right in the beginning. And I don't know if anybody can see that, but that's the base. And it's literally surrounded by mountains and they're
Yes.
1,000 feet up. And God, man, I feel for you guys. I really do having to go through that. So go ahead. You're just a couple days out. You think you're at Bostic. You have to get up to Keating. The weather and the transportation is not fun. You're obviously not getting a C-130 in. You got to take a Black Hawk or even a
Yep.
shit hook. I don't even know if a shit hook would fit in there because of the height.
Um, the Chinook, no, the Showhook did fit. So yeah, so I landed. I want to say it was either August 30th, that night of August 30th, or early in the morning, October or September 30th, or October 1st. dead of the night, and I get there and I can't
Yep.
see anything. Um, and so I get into the barracks, and so I'm assigned with Blue Platoon. My very first interaction with the platoon leader, Staff Sergeant First Class Jonathan Hill. I'm the new guy on the block, and I wasn't well perceived. Obviously, they've been there for however many months prior to me arriving. Taking contact daily. So I was the new guy. So October 1st, October 2nd, I'm trying to learn the land, learning the way that things work at Cop Keating. And so then on October 3rd, Red Platoon was scheduled to do, or correction, Blue Platoon was scheduled to do foot patrols. And so every week it would rotate. So Blue Platoon would do foot patrols for a week. Red Platoon had base security, and then it would flip flop. And so the week that I was there, Blue Platoon was scheduled for foot patrols, around the area. And so we had a 6 a.m. wake up for a mounted foot patrol, and shortly before 6 a.m., probably like 5:58 in the morning, we started taking contact. And so when I first got the Cop Keating, they told me that we would take contact on almost on a daily basis for about 10 to 15 minutes, and then it would be over with. And so I thought, okay, it's just going to be one of those days where we take contact and it's going to be over with. Well, 20 minutes in, 30 minutes in, 40 minutes into the attack, it wasn't the typical attack that Cop Keating was experiencing. This was a well-coordinated attack. The Army is their best guess was roughly 300 to 400 Taliban firefighters against 40 to 50 American soldiers at Cop Keating, 2 Latvian military advisors, and a group of ANA Afghanistan National Army individuals.
And let's be clear, the ANA didn't always exactly hold up to standard.
No, they were far from holding the line and doing what they were supposed to do. And so shortly after the attack happened, the ANA actually fled the base.
Yep.
They left their positions wide open. Many of them, we believe, um, left and fought with the Taliban, either because that's who they truly were, or they were just trying to save face and keep themselves from being killed by the Taliban.
Right.
So the reports indicate within the first hour we took heavy casualties. We had Taliban inside the wire. And so at the time, so whenever the base got attacked, if whoever was on the foot patrol unit was responsible for resupplying ammo.
Okay.
So within the first 30 to 45 minutes of the attack, all of our machine guns and our 50 cals and our Mark 19 defense systems were screaming black on ammo, running out of ammo.
Yep.
And so a group of us went to the ammo supply point, the ASP, and started running ammo all over God's creation. I don't know the base by heart because obviously I just got there.
72 hours,
so,
bro, and you're in the middle
right,
of shit.
less than 72 hours. I'm in, a battle for my life and for everyone else's life that is there that day. And so we're running ammo all over the place, and I come back to the ASP, and that's when I heard the whistle of an RPG coming in, and right behind me was about approximately a 6 foot tall HESCO barrier. The RPG landed on top of that, knocked me unconscious, threw me into the ASP. I received shrapnel wounds all to the left side of my body. Specialist Delaney, once I came to, was like, Miller, you're hit. So we did a quick, check, and trying to see where the blood was coming from. So I go and get bandaged up at the first aid station, and then after that, like it was just another, if everything was going wrong, it was that day. Everything was going wrong.
I want to be clear
Um,
about this attack, and then we found this out later that those 15-minute scuffles that you were getting every couple days, the Taliban was actually recording your responses. They were looking at
Correct.
your tactics,
Yep.
how you were defending things, what got done first, what got done second, how they could coordinate, and they did this for weeks, if not months,
Yep.
uh, to really take over that area. And they had you guys pegged.
Oh, absolutely.
And
And so when
they
the
had you
attack
guys pegged.
started, they took out they took out our generator that was running the talk.
Yep.
They had our mortars pinned down. They had pinpoint sniper accuracy fire on all of our barracks doors. Um, because like you said, they were doing their research.
Yep.
When people say that the Taliban and the Al Qaeda fighters are are dumb, they're really not.
No.
They know what they're doing.
Dude,
It's a
they
guerrilla
kicked back the
warfare fight.
Soviets in the 80s,
Right. You
right?
know,
Like they have been fighting for generations over there. They can hide in a cave for years. They
right.
know what they're doing.
hmm and so after I was injured, I got bandaged up and I quickly went back to the mission. And so by that time, that's when it really became apparent that, they're inside the wire. And so now we're kind of, fighting that close quarter combat.
Right.
And, so we kind of had to, fall back a little bit to kind of, make sure we weren't going to lose our first aid station. The first aid station was our main priority because, we were taking so many casualties and so that's where we kind of regrouped. And that's when, Staff Sergeant Clinton Romachet, one of the Medal of Honor recipients, kind of said, we got to take this bitch back. You know, we're taking Cop Keating back. And so Romachet established a team. It was myself, it was him, it was Rasmussen, it was Delaney, Arvelos, and a handful of others, and we just started progressing, back, building by building and taking back our, the cop. And at the time, it was Red Platoon and Blue Platoon, and I wish Romachet would have put this in his book. And I remember it still to this day. Romachet said it's no longer Red Platoon and Blue Platoon; it's Purple Platoon.
Yep.
Because
We're all together.
Romachet was with Red Platoon. I was with Blue, and there was a couple other guys from Blue Platoon with the Red Platoon. So we made up the purple, and so we just started taking building by building back, and you know it turned out to be almost a 14 plus hour firefight.
Yeah.
And during the time that Cop Keating was being attacked, OP Fritchie, which was our observational post that would give us indirect fire when we were being attacked, or we could give them indirect fire when they were being attacked. They were being attacked simultaneously at the same time.
Right. Right.
So they're fighting their own battle. We're fighting our own battle. We're far enough away from Bob Bostic's 155 millimeter howitzers that they couldn't provide any coverage fire for us. And so reading more reports and third party information is that the captain of the base didn't want to have that show of force while they were there, and so the Air Force didn't really know where we were. Like they had the grid coordinates, but like they didn't really know how to get to us or what to do. And so
Yeah.
it seemed like it took forever for air support to get on station. And so the very first arriving air support unit that we had was the Apaches,
Mm.
and ROE rules of engagement went out the window within the first hour or so of the
Oh yeah.
battle.
Oh yeah.
Any military age male outside the wire was dead, no questions asked. So the Apaches are doing their gun runs. They're giving us their best that they possibly can. They're getting shot up by, a Dishka. I think that's a 30 millimeter, basically rapid fire you know, artillery gun. And so they were taking heavy issues. And so it wasn't until, you know, I wasn't looking at my watch, so I don't really know, but
Right,
it seemed
right.
like, forever, until the Air Force finally got on station. We got two F-15 Echoes on station. Captain Mike Polidor was one of them. Um, and he started controlling the stack. And so we had
So for
F-15
people that don't
Echoes.
know, the stack is levels of air power at different altitudes, right? Different plans can come in, different ordnance, different teams. That's the stack. That's what they're talking about when he says the
Yep.
stack.
And so we had A-10s, we had B-1 bombers, we had the F-15 Echoes, and probably a shit ton more of other aviational aircraft that I have no idea that was even there.
Right,
And they're just they're doing anything and everything to help keep us from truly being overran.
right.
We're dropping 500-pound JDAMs, dangerously close, right outside the wire. We had A-10s that were doing gun runs where you were seeing over the cockpit. That's how
Oh,
low,
oh,
the A-10s were
oh,
flying.
wow.
And you want to talk about, a sense of relief and, a sense of, like, okay, I'm going to make it through this battle.
Right.
I'm not going to, die, and I'm not going to be, coming home in a flag draped coffin. Having the air superiority of the United States Air Force and the Apache gunships was just phenomenal. It was definitely the turning point in the battle for us. Because a lot of us on the ground could then start working on that close quarter combat stuff.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. 14 hours of battle. And
Roughly, yeah,
you were injured in the first couple hours,
yep.
continued on the mission, kept going. You finally get the base back. It's now dusk, almost evening time again. Um, what's what's going through your head?
The initial report is saying that roughly 1,700 hours, Afghanistan time, our QRF, finally got on site. Just because there was nowhere to land. It was
Nowhere
a
to
very
go.
hostile.
Yeah, it
Right.
cannot get to you.
You can't land at OP Fritchie and make your way down because they're under attack. And
Right.
so once OP Fritchie kind of got secured, that's when the QRF was able to land there. But then you're talking, the 45 minute to an hour foot march, to get down the hill, the hill, I say a hill, but, down the mountains.
Yes.
And so finally, QRF from the 1st Battalion, 32nd Infantry Regiment out of Fort Drum, New York arrived, and they provided base overwatch for us. Because all of us just busted our asses, got our balls kicked for 14 plus hours.
Yeah.
And so we're kind of starting to settle down. We're all circled around, smoking, and just breathing that we're going to be fine. We're going to make it through it. Um, and I remember, and I won't forget it. For some reason, the guys from the 32nd Infantry Regiment thought it would be a great idea to find the AKs, 47s of some of the dead Taliban that were inside the wire and start shooting them off. And the AK-47 has a very distinct sound.
Distinctive sound. Yes.
And
Yes.
so it's, and I know they were probably doing it just, to kind of experience what an AK, shoots like or whatever. But, you're
Bad
talking
timing.
40 to 50 guys that just went through hell and heard that all day. They started shooting us off. And it was like a quick reaction from all of us. We're grabbing our guns and, we're, ready to go back.
Yep.
But come to find out, the boys were just playing.
Did you guys beat them?
We
Knock them
didn't beat
down?
them, but it was definitely, there was a conversation had like, all right, let's knock this off. We can't be doing this. And so they provided overwatch for us throughout the night. During the Battle of Cop Keating, A lot of our buildings were burned down to the ground. Unfortunately, red platoons or blue platoons barracks were burnt to the ground. So all of our personal, including my personal property, was destroyed and or stolen. And so there was quite a few of us that were sleeping in red platoons barracks. Sleeping on the floors, making makeshift cots. Just trying to get a little bit of sleep.
Right.
So at that time we knew we had 7 KIAs. We had one that was severely wounded, and that was Specialist Stephen Mace. He was flown out as early as we could possibly get a medevac out. He went back to Bagram or went back to Fob Bostic, and then I believe from Fob Bostic he went to Bagram and ended up later succumbing to his injuries from the Battle of Cop Keating. So we ended up losing 8 brave guys that day. Staff Sergeant Justin Gallegos, Staff Sergeant Vernon Martin, Sergeant Christopher Griffin, Sergeant Michael Scusa, Sergeant Joshua Kirk, Sergeant Joshua Hart, Specialist Stephen Mace, and then PFC Kevin Thompson. Those were our 8 warriors, our 8 heroes that died from that battle. And like you said, we had the 27 wounded. It's definitely a day that I will never forget.
And I'm glad you said that because there's there's multiple ways you can look at that day, right? There's multiple ways you can move forward, right? Are you going to move forward with it's something that happened, I lost a lot of friends and I'm going to keep going, or you can just stay in this rut of
Mhm.
man, that was a lot of death, a lot of shit and I can't seem to get out of this, right?
Right.
So let's talk about that real quick. It took you a while to get out of Keating, right? Because you're one of the lower priority medevacs, right?
I think it was 2 or 3 days after Cop Keating that we were all finally evacuated out.
Okay.
So,
And it shut down. I want to be clear. When they left, they left. You guys did
correct. And
not
so,
redefend that position ever. That was a horrible
yep.
tactical decision. Many people lost their asses for that one. Like that was a
So,
bad tactical
yes.
decision.
So, Cop Keating was originally supposed to be closed earlier in
Yes.
2009.
Yes.
And so the mission to close Cop Keating kept getting pushed and kept getting pushed. And so, the report that came out in 2013, talks about that. And so because there was, talks about it being closed, there was no extra money, no extra supplies that was allocated to
Yep.
build, the defenses up, you
Yep.
know, so yeah.
Yeah. Frustrating. Frustrating. We'll
Yep.
get to that. We'll get to that part too. So you
Yep.
take a couple 3 days to get out of there. Keating closes down. You go from Keating to Bagram to Landstuhl to Walter
No,
Reed. No?
kind of. So after Keating, we all got back to Fob Bostic, and so that's when I started kind of experience, showing the symptoms of traumatic brain injury and severe back pain from the explosion. And so the decision was made for me to fly out to Bagram to get medically evacuated or get medically checked. So I get to Bagram Air Force Base and I go into the hospital and I say, "Hey, my name's Sergeant Matthew Miller. I was just involved in the Battle of Cop Keating." That is all I remember.
Really?
Um, that is all I remember walking and saying when I walked into the hospital at the Air Force Base. Next thing you know, I'm waking up and I'm loaded on a C-17. Um, I'm being shipped out to Landstuhl, Germany.
Yeah.
I spend 2 weeks there recovering, trying to get back to Afghanistan. They won't let me go back. And so then they shipped me from Landstuhl to Walter Reed. I was at Walter Reed for a week, and then I got back to Fort Carson.
Do you ever know? Have you ever been told, or did you talk to anybody about what happened when you got into the hospital and what got you like? Do you know
Nope,
what went down at all?
nothing. I mean, because
Wow.
I had my M4 with me, so I don't know where any of that, all that equipment that I had with me went.
It was all taken care of and you're just
Yep,
gone. You're on a
gone,
plane and you're out.
out.
Wow. And not married at this time, if I remember correctly, right? Were you dating?
No, nope,
Hadn't met her yet.
nope. Haven't she? No, she wasn't fortunate enough to meet me prior to my injury, so she was
Hey,
lucky to meet me after the injury.
yeah, lucky or unlucky. We'll talk about that part later.
Right.
But it takes until 2011, excuse me, for you to be medically retired. Can we talk about what you were going through from that 9 to 11 and what you were feeling and what you were experiencing in case there's people out there listening who might not know what those symptoms were like for those TBIs and what was going on with you?
Yeah. So I got back to Fort Carson late October. Yeah, it was late, maybe closer to the end of the month. And so I was assigned to the rear detachment of 4th Brigade. And so I'm kind of getting medically evaluated. I'm going through the hoops and everything else. And so at the time, I was on 36 medications when I got back from Afghanistan. 36,
Were you on any before you left?
zero.
And you got 36 when you got home?
36 medications when
Well,
I
man,
was,
you and I talked about this in Michigan. The amount of meds that they just throw at you and
yeah,
say take, and you blindly take them
yep,
because you're following orders, right? So you
right.
just blindly take these meds. So do you remember what these meds were at
No,
all? Yeah,
absolutely
I did.
not.
What was
But
what were
18
you
of
feeling like? Like I
well,
can't imagine having to take 36 a day.
18 of the medications had some form of sleep additives in them,
Oh my God, dude.
or the side effect was drowsiness.
Oh my God.
Um, and so I was almost facing UCMJ action, Uniform Code of Military Justice
Yeah.
action, because I was late to formations. I couldn't think. I wasn't,
Oh,
mentally there because of everything that I just went through and the medications. And so I ended up going to JAG and I said, please help me. And so that's when JAG got involved, got a lot of the medications taken away because the problem was I had a neurologist prescribing me this medication,
right.
and then my primary care prescribing me this medication, and there was no communications, you know. And so
Okay.
we got my medications back in order to where I wasn't on 36. I dropped down from 36 down to 5, which was more manageable. But at the time, they sent me to the Warrior Transition Unit, the WTU. It was a fairly new concept where injured soldiers would go to the WTU, rehab, and either go back to their units or be medically retired out. Well, the problem with it was since it was somewhat sort of a fairly new concept, a lot of the units were sending the soldiers that they didn't want to deal with to the
Yeah.
WTU.
Right.
It was their way of just not handling them. And so I get to the WTU and, I'm still trying to get back to Afghanistan and I'm still trying to, fight for my career to stay active duty. And so basically it came down to if you want to stay active duty, you have to reclass.
Yeah.
And, they wanted me to reclass to, uh, like a clerk
Yeah. You got to
or,
change your job. You
something.
can't, you
Yeah.
can't serve as a door kicker anymore, man.
They want me to sit behind a desk.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not built for sitting behind a desk. So it's either I go back as a 13 Foxtrot, get back on the front lines, or I get out of the military. And so ultimately, I was medically retired out November 28th of 2011 from the United States Army. The one thing nice about the Warrior Transition Unit is that my sole purpose while I was in the WTU was to focus on myself, to heal, and to get better. They also had a program where they were transitioning you out to the civilian world. And so if I didn't have medical appointments, I would show up for morning formation, and then they would allow me to leave base to go um, volunteer somewhere.
All right.
Kind of like an internship.
Yep.
At first they were trying to force it to be like a federal position because obviously we're getting federal funds, and so I'm being paid federally. But I was able to convince them to allow me to volunteer with El Paso County Sheriff's Department. They
Okay.
agreed, and so I started working with Deputy Rich Haverlow from El Paso County Sheriff's Department, and he was one of the fire investigators for arsons and for structure fires. So I started job shadowing him, and so then I got to become certified through the ATF for arson investigations. I got to work hand in hand with the sheriff's office on investigating fires, and so then I was transitioned out of the military.
That's pretty cool, man. That warrior transition unit is there, and I wanna capitalize or highlight something that you just said. Your sole purpose in that warrior transition unit was you. Your sole
Hmm.
purpose was to get yourself better and transition out to civilian status. So many times, I've noticed guys that get over there, or we talk about it after they come out, and they're like, you know what, they just kind of hid me over there. They didn't help me or anything.
Right.
Kudos to you for having your ears open and the wherewithal to know the personal knowledge to know this is for me to get better. I need to
Yep.
figure this part out, right?
Yep.
My experience was always, um, I didn't have I had a bullhead, right? Let's just say I was closed off, like nobody knows better than me. And I don't know that I was exactly paying attention to take care of myself. I was more of a mission first kind of guy, and I didn't matter. And then when I got out, I really struggled. I had a really hard time understanding what the military had given me and what I needed.
Right.
So, um, so many of us, when we're out, we grow the beard, right? Don't cut the
Hmm.
hair, smoke the weed, eat the ice cream, don't work out, sleep in, take naps, whatever.
Yep.
Um, I tried it. It didn't work for me. It did not work for me at all. I got down into some doldrums. I mean, it was not fun for me. What was it like for you? Because you have a large gap between getting out and what you're doing now, right? It took
Right.
you a few years to find Team Fast Tracks.
Oh, it
So
did.
I want to I want to talk
So
about that. I want to talk about that 5 year period real quick, and then we'll get into Fast Tracks because I I saw something in you at Michigan that I would wager a really big bet that you weren't feeling that before Fast Tracks.
oh no. And so I got out in 2011, and I was married at the time, and
Well, let's start there. Well, how did you meet her? Because you didn't meet her when you were injured. You weren't
nope.
together. What does this woman
Um,
think of you when, and how are you broaching this subject? Because you're a combat wounded vet, you're a Purple Heart, you're in one of the worst battles of Afghanistan up in history at the time, and you're being told you got to leave. And you're
yep.
trying to transition to be a firefighter, fire inspector, paramedic, whatever you're doing, and you meet this woman. What do you tell her? Hey, I'm about to be unemployed. I can't provide shit for you. Like, what are you telling her?
So my wife Stacy and I we met in 2010. Um, so a little over a year after I was injured,
Yeah.
and no. No,
Yeah.
we met in 20, yeah, no, we met in 2009. Sorry. So we met late November, early December 2009.
Holy shit.
And
Right after you got hurt.
yeah,
Right
right
after you
after I
got
got back.
back.
Yeah, right after.
Oh my God,
And
dude.
and so I was living with my buddy and his wife. And so I served with Chris at the 82nd Airborne,
Okay.
and he was medically retired out sometime after I left uh, the 82nd. And so when I got to Colorado, I realized that Chris was living in Colorado Springs because his wife was Air Force.
Okay.
So after I got back, I linked up with Chris and his wife, and I ended up moving in with them. And they introduced me to Stacy. And it was just one of those things like, oh, hi, how you doing, whatever. And so a week or two went by, and she asked me to go to. She's in the Air Force as well. She asked me to go to her military or her Air Force Christmas ball.
Yeah. Yeah. Big deal over
Like,
there at Sea Springs.
I think it was the day before or even the day of. I'm pretty sure it was the day of, but and she'll tell the story different. But and so I'm like, well, shit, like I don't have a tux, I don't have a
I
suit.
don't have a shit.
The only thing I have is my military dress uniform. That's
Yep.
all I have.
There you go,
I s-
bro.
and so I said, I can go with you, but I have to wear my military dress uniform. And she's like, well, that's fine. And so the dress uniform, I had the blues at the time. So we got away from the Christmas greens, which I was thankful because I hated those uniforms, but the blues look better. But they don't compare to the United States Marine Corps uniforms, but they're a hell of a lot better than the flight attendant uniforms that the Air Force wears. I'm just
Thanks,
gonna throw
buddy.
that out
Thank you.
there. So,
Thank you.
so I go to this Christmas ball and I'm dressed in my combat uniform or my dress uniform, and I've never been to an Air Force ball. I've only been to Army functions. And
Okay.
Army functions, it's drink, let's party, let's act crazy, let's have fun. I get to this Christmas ball and it's me and Stacy and my buddy and his wife. And so he's prior Army. And like we're the only table that's really drinking at this Christmas ball. And so the ceremony or whatever is getting ready to go. And so prior to the ceremony starting, I met this civilian that worked for the Air Force, and he started looking at my uniform and saw that I had a Purple Heart and was talking to me about it. And next thing you know, I'm up at the bar grabbing myself a drink and my buddy Chris a drink. And it was Jack and Coke. So I had two Jack and Cokes in my hand. So the ceremony just started, and the civilian that I just met was like, we have a very special guest here tonight. He just returned back from Afghanistan. He was wounded. And he points over to me and he's like, Sergeant Matthew
Oh,
Miller.
oh
So here I
no.
am
Oh
standing in
no.
my uniform with two drinks. I'm like, hey, what's up? And so, the thing goes on. And so we leave that and we go downtown Colorado Springs to drink. And so
Oh,
Stacy and I have only, known each other for less than, a week.
a week.
Um, and so we're at the bar, we're in civilian attire now, and I'm like, what do you want to drink? And she's like, oh, I don't want anything to drink. Well, I ended up getting her vodka and Sprite, and they had a pool table. And one of the things that I found relaxing and therapeutic for me after I got back was playing pool. And so, being a 22, 23-year-old guy, I'm showing her how to play pool and I'm putting the moves on her. So long story short, that's how we met and then she becomes my wife. And
24 hours,
so,
you're at an Air Force ball. 24
right,
hours to meet her, you're at an Air Force ball. 30 days after getting back, you meet a dude, you're introduced. You're
right,
like, I've never been here before. I'm carrying Jack and Cokes. And you're like, what is happening to my life?
right. And so then we ended up, buying a house together in June of 2020 or of 2010. Um, we go through the motions and everything. And so then in 2012, at the time we're married, we find out that she's pregnant with our first kid, Abigail. Um, it was kind of a shock because we both weren't really, planning,
Sure.
to have kids that early. But everything happens for a reason. And so after Abigail was born, we decided that we wanted to be closer to home. It was a 24 plus hour road trip for us to, or get on an airplane to fly back to Ohio and or New York. So we moved to New York, not realizing how shitty New York is. And so, we started our family here in
Listen,
New York.
I want to say, I think New York is beautiful country, beautiful
Right.
country.
It is beautiful.
The
I
rules,
live
the
in a
laws,
very,
and the people are not what I expected them to be. That's
right.
all I'm going to
So
say
like
about
when I say I live in New York, people automatically think New York City.
city, and he's not.
No,
He's nowhere near New York
far,
City.
far from it. I have more cows in this town than probably people,
Yeah,
or it's
he's like
relatively close.
you're like Western or Midwestern
Central,
New York, Central New
Central
York,
New York. Yep.
like farm country in Ohio, like the hills of PA. Like it's not a city at all.
Right. And so, we're here in New York, and I gave up my military support network. I have no close friends, because I'm a transplant here to New York. Like I said, we live in a small farming town where everybody knows each other. Um, and there doesn't seem to be a lot of veteran resources close to me. And
Yeah.
so from 2012 all the way up until about 2015, was a deep dark place for me. I didn't have that outlet. I didn't have people to talk with. And
Now I want to
so
talk
during
about
it,
that real quick because you're married. You're married for 5, 6 years. You have a kid. You think you're doing everything right, but you just don't feel like yourself.
right,
I think I'm being a good dad. I think I'm being a good husband. You're doubting certain things and you don't have that, you can't have that conversation about nothing in the middle of nowhere. Like,
right.
right?
And
It's
I'm
just not.
working, I'm doing
Trying to
factory
find this
jobs
guy. I'm
and
trying to find, and
yeah,
I want to be clear too. You got to Keating within 72 hours. You and I talked about this morning before we got on the show. Your feeling of the brotherhood of a unit, I guess you would say, like when guys would get injured in the unit, like you're constantly being talked to. You're getting a phone call. You're getting a visit. You're getting stopped by. You hadn't been there long enough to make any of those connections. Truly. Now, of course, you're still friends with these guys today, but then you they didn't know you. You didn't know them. You hadn't built that
right,
brotherhood
yeah,
just
yeah,
yet. You're still service members. I'm still going to be here. I'm still going to help you out, but you don't have that. I wasn't crying with you at 3 o'clock in the morning because my kid had her kindergarten show today and I missed it. Right?
right,
You don't have that brotherhood just yet. So I can empathize and relate to your feeling of loneliness and not having anybody to talk to, right? To go through that with, because you can't go back to the other guys from the other units because they weren't there, right? They weren't
right,
with you. They didn't, and you think
yep,
that you think there's something wrong with you because you're in the middle of New York, which is a much slower ops tempo than Cobb Keating, than
hmm
Afghanistan, than any day you've ever had in the military. You think you're doing well and you're trying to acclimate to the civilian life. What was the catalyst? What was the straw that broke the back? What was the light switch moment that said, I got to get back to something? Because you're a volunteer fireman, you're a paramedic, you still have service.
right.
You're just lacking a connection. So what was there a defining light switch moment that said, I got to do something?
Kind of, and we'll get to it.
All right,
And
cool.
so in 2013, I decided, okay, I'm going to join the volunteer firefighter fire service, and I'm going to join the volunteer ambulance service here in the small town I live in. Because I was searching for that kind of camaraderie, that brotherhood
Purpose.
that I needed.
Yeah.
Um, and it was great. It's still good, but it's not the military.
Right.
Nothing
Right.
will ever compare. Well, I shouldn't say nothing. I thought nothing that I could ever
Yeah.
do would compare to the military service. And so 2013 all the way up until about 2020. It was I was just going with the motions, and I was living my life the best that I possibly could.
Yep. Yep.
In 2016, we ended up having our son Mason. Um, and so my life changed even, for the better then. And so, um, in 20 in 2020, COVID happens.
Yeah.
The whole entire world comes crashing down.
Shut
And
down.
so, um, August of 2019, I started paramedic school. I was an EMT prior to that for so many years, for 6 or 7 years, and I wanted more. I wanted to be a paramedic, and so August of 2019, I went through at the time Baxton St. Luke's paramedic program. It was an accelerated program, 9 months long, where typical paramedic programs are 17 to 18 months long.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I'm going through this very accelerated course. April of 2020, world comes crashing, coming to a complete halt. Um, there was talks about canceling the paramedic program
Yep.
that I've been in for 6 or 7 months now at the time. Um, and so that got put on hold for a little bit, and then they made the determination, nope, we're going to continue the program, but we're going to do it remote. So not
Oh
only am
my
I in
God.
one of the most accelerated paramedic programs that I could possibly attend,
Yeah.
now I'm being forced to do it remotely,
Yeah.
and I have COVID shutting everything down.
Yep. And two kids
Um,
under the
and
age of
two
five.
kids and a wife, and a full-time job as an EMT. And so that stress load was just enough for me to handle.
Keep piling on,
Um,
piling on, piling on, man.
piling on, piling on, piling on. And so, proud to say, September of 2020, I became a New York State certified paramedic, and I've been doing this full time ever since.
Nice.
So, late September, right? Yeah, because I was a paramedic. Yeah, so COVID was happening. We couldn't, if you had loved ones that were in nursing homes or in rehab facilities, you couldn't go see them. They
Yep.
weren't being cared for, and so Stacy's grandfather was in a rehab facility, and we made the determination that we were going to bring Grandpa to our house, give him
Yes.
a better quality of life. Stacy and I would tend to him. We would hire a private, home health aide to help us, and so people could see him and he could see others before his ultimate, passing. Um, and so having him here was a blessing, but it was also a huge burden on Stacy and I.
Sure.
So we have
Sure.
two kids. She was deemed essential, working at Anheuser-Busch. So she's still working. They had to deem it essential because everybody's home, and
They're all
what's
drinking.
everybody doing? Everybody's just drinking.
Everybody's drinking.
So she was deemed essential. I'm working as an EMT / paramedic, so I was obviously deemed essential. And so 40 plus hours a week working, two kids that are in school, but now are virtual learning because of COVID. Having her grandfather here, it was enough. It was chaos here at the Miller household. Um, so Grandpa ended up passing away April of 2022. Um, and so it was, no, 21. Sorry, April of 21. And so like things were kind of getting back to normal, but I still had a lot of burden on me, I felt like.
Yeah.
And so 21, what at the beginning of 21 was a bad year for Matt. More than I want to go in, a lot of personal issues that I don't want to go in on the podcast, but I overcame them. You know, I battled them, I overcame them, and so then August of 21, I attended Team FasTrax Warrior Weekend to Remember.
Mm-hmm.
I was invited from a friend that I met on TikTok, because during the height of COVID, everything was on TikTok. And so I met this lady. Her name's Elizabeth. I know her as Libby. And she's like, you need to come to this event. I said, okay. She tells me, it's for Purple Hearts, and there's Gold Star families. And so I go to this event in August of 21 with my family, my wife, and my two kids. Have no idea what we're in store for. And it's a 3-day crunch event. And so at this event, I got to go skydiving for my very first time. I got to go to the rifle range and shoot. Um, we did bonfires every night after the evening festivities. That's where like the true magic happens because you're talking with other veterans and meeting Gold Star family members. And then I got to be a part of a Jeep parade. Um, we had about 100 to 150 custom decked out Jeeps that all lined up, and we went on this. It seemed like a forever parade, but it was so awesome. So that was my first ever experience with the Warrior Weekend to Remember, and seeing Team FasTrax. They're jumping from airplanes and they're deploying 1,100 square foot American flags behind them, 5,000 square foot American flags behind them. Purple Heart flags, POW, MIA flags. Any type of flag you can possibly think of. Team FasTrax is flying. At 4,000 feet. And I'm like, this is so cool. Well, so I left Ohio after that event, and I'm just like, holy crap, that was truly life changing. And it was a moment for me. And I said, I love this organization. I want to be a part of it. 22, I got invited back to Warrior Weekend to Remember to be an ambassador for the new incoming uh, Purple Heart recipients like I was the year prior.
Oh, that's
So
very
I got,
cool.
yeah. So I went through the experience in 22, and when I left Ohio, I said I want to be a part of Team FasTrax. I love what they do, but I don't like. I'm not certified as skydiving, and so I fill out the application. I get accepted and selected to go through their selection course the following year. So that was April of 23. Go through selection course,
And you're still
and
not
then
skydive certified.
still not skydive certified. And so I get selected to be on the team. And so August of 23 was my first Warrior Weekend to Remember as a Team FasTrax member.
Okay.
And so now I felt like I had even more of a sense of a purpose because now I'm truly giving back to the new Purple Heart recipients and meeting new Gold Star family members that are coming in through the program. Um, I'm wearing the badass, Team FasTrax uniform, um, and so I just felt like I had a sense of purpose then.
Let me see if I can get some pictures of these events real quick. I would like to take a 5 minute break. I have a physiological need I need to do here real quick. And I'm trying to find these badass uniforms in here. There's just a lot of pictures. Let's take five. Let's go grab a cup of coffee, take a little physical break. And we'll be right back with more from Matt Miller, and we're going to hear about Team FasTrax, his involvement, and I'm really excited to talk about the weekends, what he's doing now, and the blue skies for the good guys and gals, because those are the people that I hooked up with up there in Dorano Wasteway in Milan, Michigan, just last month. I'm really excited to continue this conversation, Matt. So let's give it 5 minutes, bro. It's just going to stay live because I don't know how to pause it. So it's going to stay here. look at you all dressed. Oh, you're so clean now.
Part of the challenges of doing a live show is physiological needs and other people coming to the house. So, that's just the way it is. But we were talking about you getting involved in Team FasTraX and actually being selected in 2023 without a skydiving certificate. And here we are 2 years later. What was that first? You talked about the feeling of belonging, right? Of giving back and the things that Team FasTraX does. Team FasTraX is the largest professional skydiving team in the world, right? They're bigger than Red Bull, right? Because this is one team of 40 plus jumpers, I think. And they do all kinds of events, sporting events, motorsports, baseball. They've jumped in over the Statue of Liberty. They've done football games, NASCAR arenas, tracks, football arenas, all kinds of stuff.
Oh yeah.
So what was the draw, I guess? I mean, we talked about it, right? But the switch in you, right? What was it that really drew you to want to do it? Because you talk about having a battle prior to this and a personal battle that we don't need to talk about, that you're choosing not to talk about, I should say. And you go to this event again, your second or third time in a row, and now you're a team member, right? You're not just an ambassador, you're a member and you're wearing the cool uniform. And you talk about giving back. What is it that you felt you were giving back to these guys?
So I would I would say roughly 80%, if not even more, of Team FasTraX is some sort of military affiliation. And so it was establishing that brotherhood and sisterhood that I was missing. because I felt like I was back with individuals that understood who I was, what I'm about, and that could help me become a better person. And for the ones that didn't serve, they still have a heart of gold, and they love our country, they love our veterans, and they love our Gold Star families, and so it's a perfect atmosphere.
Yeah,
Um,
I get it.
you know, and so I made the mistake when I went to my very first team meeting. So I became a team member in 23. So my very first team meeting in 24, um, I, s- I I made the mistake of saying out loud in front of everybody, I felt like this is a family. And they said, well, it's because it is a family. I'm like, oh yeah, and so my choice of words were wrong. And so it is a giant family. We all stay in touch. We're doing demos all across the United States. Even if we don't talk every day, when we link up, it's like, it's we just pick up right from where we left off.
Yep. Yep. Do you find that the difference between military and civilian, I don't know, personality, attention to detail, goal oriented, mission first type stuff, do you find it's much more prevalent? I mean, obviously, it's much more prevalent in the Air Force or the military, but um, do you think that that's what you were really missing, right? The
Yes. The
onus on
structure.
accountability, the my job depends on this guy, which then makes me depend on that other guy, and he depends on me, and everybody has to do their job, and you're all held accountable, right?
Yep, and having that close knit family that if you have that, if you're having a bad day at 2 o'clock in the afternoon or 2 o'clock in the morning, you have somebody to call. I didn't have that from the time I moved to New York, until I joined and became a member of Team FastTrax and the Blue Skies for the good guys and gals.
I think a lot of us
So
miss that.
yeah, and so back up real quick. So when you join the team, you're given a coin. And the only way you can get this coin is when you are selected and you are confirmed by the committee to join Team Fast Tracks. So here is my Team Fast Track coin. And so, and on the back, we have names. So at the time when I joined the team, prior to me joining the team, we lost four teammates. Ron Condry, United States Navy, Larry LeMaster, United States Army, Christian Stevens, United States Army, and Nathan Moore, United States Army. And so when we do our performances, we typically give our point of contacts or anyone that um, you know a team member feels deserving to have our team challenge coin. We present them with one of our team challenge coins. So this is our newest updated challenge coin. As you can see, there's now 6 initials on there, and I will talk about the initials. Um, and so the team was established in 2002, and so from 2002 all the way up until 2018, the team was doing great, and they had their flaws and everything, but they were doing what they had to do, um, and unfortunately, September 3rd, 2018, Team Fast Tracks lost their first team member, Ron Condry, to the battle of suicide. The battle of post-traumatic stress. So on our team coin is RC. That's for Ron Condry. So that's a picture behind me is a picture of Ron Condry. And then our next team member that we lost that day was Larry Lowmaster. Or, no, sorry, no. Um, yeah, Larry Lowmaster. That's Larry Lowmaster right there. So in 2019, Larry was doing skydiving out of Hawaii, and unfortunately, the plane that he was on skydiving crashed shortly after takeoff, and so we ended up losing him June 21st of 2019. And then then February 18th of 2020, Christian Stevens, the picture behind me right now is another team member that we lost. He was killed in a skydiving accident. He made a selfless decision to avoid a student parachute skydiver, and unfortunately, it cost him his life. Um, and so then we lost Nate Moore in um, June 12th of 2020 to another skydiving accident. That's the individual that's behind me. Adam Plummer, he's a pilot, June 8th of 2024. That's Adam. So Adam went through Team FasTraX selection camp of 2024, was selected, and unfortunately, he passed away in a airplane crash on June 12th, 2020, or correction, July 8th of 2024. And then our most recent team member that we lost, sorry, I'm trying to find the picture.
No, you're good.
Um,
I'm very touched that you're mentioning every single one of them on the coin. So that
yep.
that coin, a coin just like that. We'll talk about it here in just a second.
I thought I had a picture. I thought I had a picture of Adam Ralston, but I guess I didn't. But Adam
Okay.
Ralston, he passed away this year, April 16th of 2025, due to a medical condition,
Wow.
medical issue that occurred. And so when we give out these coins, it's not something that we take lightly. These coins are very special to us because they have the initials of our fallen teammates on there. And while it's painful to update our coin, we do it so that we always remember those individuals, and we're able to carry our legacy with us, carry their legacy with us. Team FasTraX, part of our creed is honoring our nation's country, or our country's military men and women, specifically those who have, of those families of Gold Star families that have made the ultimate sacrifice. So each performance that we do, we dedicate it to a fallen hero. And so if we have a demo scheduled on June 8th, Team FasTraX will find a hero that was killed in action on that day, and so our skydiving team and the grounds crew specialists will carry that picture with them during the demo. There will be a picture before the demo, and then after the demo, we all take a group photo with that service member. Because the greatest casualty is being forgotten about.
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
And so by dedicating the jump to someone that we don't even know, but we owe them a lot because of what they did for us and our country, it allows us to continue on their legacy.
100%, 100%, man. I'm really excited that you talked about that, because you got to give that coin to, Lex and Gerda June back in Michigan, and
Yep.
I think it was last month, right? July.
Yeah.
And you had a nice presentation. You talked to them. I think you even got a tear or two out of Gerda. A nice presentation. And then let's transition from Team FasTraX to the other side of the house, which is Blue Skies for Good Guys and Gals, and that's part of FasTraX, right?
So, yep. So Team FasTraX sponsors the Blue Skies for the Good Guys and Gals Warrior Weekend to Remember. That is every year. It's in August, typically the first week of August. It's a 3-day event, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then we have to say the long goodbyes on Sunday morning, and go our separate ways. Um, you know, but because of that event and because of Team FasTrax, I am truly a better individual now that I was ever have been. And and you kind of mentioned on it earlier. You saw something in me. I am damn proud to be a member of this team. I am damn proud to be able to represent our fallen heroes. Support our Gold Star family members, and just meeting great individuals. Like yourself, the Never Quit Army with Lex June and Gerda, and all the other places that we do performances at.
I was thinking of something to say and I kind of got stopped. I want to talk about that real quick. We had that rain delay up there. And you got to come down and you got to hang out and you hung out in the pits and we walked you around the car a little bit and you got to talk to Lex and Gerda and brought some people by, and a lot of people, you brought the truck by for us. We got some pictures. Lex and I got to sign it. You got to tell the story a little bit to the fans in the pit area. What was that? And I want to talk personally, right? Personally, not as a member of Team FasTrax or a member of Blue Skies for the Good Guys and Gals, but for you personally, as a combat vet, a Purple Heart recipient, you've been in the shit. You've battled your demons. We like to call him Damien here at Saving 22. You made that switch, you made that dedication, that commitment to be a better person, which is just what you talked about, Blue Skies for the Good Guys and Gals. And I feel that that's what Save 22 kind of represents, right? With the struggling, let's talk. Nothing is permanent. Everything in this life is temporary, even our life, right? So what was that experience like for you with Nicole Condry, who is a spouse of a 22, who's one of your jumpers, and then you'll have to forgive me, I can't remember his name right. Dimitrie. I wanted to say Demetrius, but that's not correct. Dimitrie, who is a Serbian, Bosnian,
yep.
Serbian Special Forces from Bosnia Serbia war, who's now jumping over here in the United States and remembering and honoring his fallen heroes from over there. So all three of you got to come down and just speak from a personal side of what that was like for you, with hearing a little bit of my story, and then the 3 or 4 veterans that we had at the track that day with Lex, and then Lex's story with Gerda coming over and getting you to be a part of that for, I think you were there about an hour. What was that like for you? What was that like for you?
That's definitely going to be one of those demos I'll never forget. It was such an amazing demo that we did. It was a 2-day event. We jumped on Friday, and then we had the second jump on Saturday, which we were fortunate to get the jump in before the rain delay occurred. And so my buddy Aaron Hart, he's the one that owns that big truck that I brought in. I was talking to him Friday after the demo, and I said, this was such an amazing experience to be at the IHRA, and he's like, why don't you go get my truck? I'm like, well, where the hell's your truck? He's like, oh, it's like 15, 20 minutes away from you. So I Googled the address. I'm like, yep, sure as shit. There, it's 15, 20 minutes away. And so he's an over-the-road trucker. And so he was unfortunately, on the road doing his job. And so I immediately texted Demi. We were back at the hotel, and I was outside enjoying adult beverage and just relaxing from Friday's demo. And so I immediately texted Demi and I said, hey, come outside. And so he came outside, and I was talking to him. I'm like, hey, I can go get Aaron's truck and we can drive that tomorrow to the racetrack for the demo. And he's like, yeah, let's run it by Nicole as she's the team lead. And so I called Nicole up, and she's like, yeah, absolutely, go get the truck. So here it is, like 8:30 at night on a Friday. I'm driving to go get Aaron's truck. I leave the rental car where his truck was, And we show up with the truck the next day. You know, I don't know if you can pull up the picture so people can see this.
Yeah, I'm trying to right now. It's not working too well.
Um,
I'm having some issues.
you know, it's a it's a truck with like, I don't know, probably a ridiculously like 6-inch lift on it and massive tires, and it's fun to drive, but it also sucks to drive at the same time. Turning radius on it sucks, and and you feel like you're going to run over people because you can't see them. But anyways, so Aaron never served a day in his of his life in the military, but has a heart of gold and a big heart for the Blue Skies mission, Team FASTRAX, and so he has this truck wrapped, honoring our veterans, and has the Blue Skies logo on it. And Aaron allows on the driver's side Gold Star family members to sign the truck, write a message of the loved ones that they've lost. And then on the right side, he allows veterans to, put their alive date or their signature, whatever they want to write on the passenger side. So I have this truck, at the event on Saturday, and the first driver we meet is Disco Dan Stinky Pinky, and his wife, Lindsay. So we do a little mini documentary with Disco Dan about Team FASTRAX, Blue Skies for the good guys and gals, with the truck in the background. Shortly after that, that's when you and I met. You came up and I told you a lot about the truck and who I was and everything, and you invited me down to the pit. And then fortunately for us, we had the rain delay.
Yep.
So what was that, like a 3+ hour rain delay that we had?
It was long, and it was wet and flooded and sucked.
And so me, Nicole, and Dimitri, we hopped in the truck and we drove down to Team Never Quit Lex June's pit, and parked the truck, got out, and we got a VIP backstage, behind the scenes tour of of their pit. We were immediately taken in like we're a family. The hospitality was phenomenal. Nicole Condry got to sit in the dragster. While she was doing that, Dimitri and I are, listening to, to the mechanics give us, behind the scenes, talks about, how the dragster works and, what this part does and, how the fuel line works. It was just absolutely mind blowing. I can interpret a 12 lead, I can start an IV, and I can intubate you. But you asked me, to build a car, let alone a dragster, there's no way in hell I'm going to screw it up. So it was definitely one of those experiences that was truly appreciated, and it was greatly. It was just an amazing experience that when I came back home on Sunday, I was still amped up. I was probably amped up from that demo for a good week.
Good.
And
Good.
And I told Matt Harvey, he's kind of like the guy that does all the scheduling for the demos, and I said I want to do that demo again. We kind of have an end with a couple of the teams, and so we're going to be treated right, and and I know the IHRA is going kind of rebranding and going through changes, and they're working on changes for the good.
Yep.
So hopefully the IHRA loves what Team FASTRAX does, and we will continue to do more demos next year. I know we have a couple more IHRA demos slotted for this year.
You're actually coming. I think Nicole texted me the other day and said you guys are going to be there for the first weekend in November. Or I'm sorry, the first weekend of September at Dorana Raceway in what used to be National Trail in Columbus, and you guys are going to be there for that. And
Hebron,
that's real.
Hebron, Ohio, right?
Hebron, whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
Hebron,
However
Ohio.
you say it. Yeah.
So you're going to be down there. We will be there with Lex. I'll be there for a couple of days. I have an event in Youngstown at the Youngstown Air Reserve Station the following day with Save 22. So I won't be there, but we do have a couple individuals that are coming down to represent Save 22 and be there with you guys. So please stop by and see us. You're always welcome in the pits when I'm there, as a matter of fact.
I'm looking to see who's specifically on that demo, and I can tell you, I'm not on that demo because that week I think I'm in Kansas for a
Oh
demo.
boy, ain't nothing in Kansas but corn.
We got Yulia and Matt Harvey, and there's still another one that has to get assigned to it. But Matt Harvey will be in the position that I was in, the ground support specialist.
Great.
And so I will make sure, and Matt's probably listening because I sent him the link, but
Matt's actually listening because he commented on here. He said, "Hey man, this is awesome. Thanks for making my work morning easier." I thought that was pretty cool. So Matt, I'll get to see you down at Hebron, Ohio.
Yep. Go check out the Never Quit Army. Go introduce yourself to the Lex and Gerda. It's definitely a fun event. And so, like I said, we're doing demos all over the United States, and we've done, prior to me joining the team, we've done demos in Moscow, we've done demos in Japan, all over, anywhere and everywhere that we can land our professional skydivers. We will jump into it.
So it says that your team has done Moscow, Russia, Doha, Qatar, Yanqi, China, Normandy, France, and other notable countries. You have armed forces veterans and approved to jump into highly restricted airspace, the only civilian parachute demonstration team to have performed over Ground Zero on 9/11 in New York City, the Pentagon, and Washington, D.C., Independence Hall in Philadelphia, and over the Arizona Memorial in Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. So, an incredibly talented, very honored team, right? You guys get to do a lot of stuff that many other people are just not ever going to be able to do.
Right. And I'm privileged and I'm grateful and I'm blessed to be a part of this team because I'm getting that backstage access to these events,
right?
Through the team. And so of course we have our mission that we do, and that's perform for the crowd, perform for our customer, dedicate the jump to a fallen hero, and then the after meets and after party, basically, that's just a bonus for me. So I have a couple demos slotted. I'm going to be at Kansas State for football.
Cool.
On September 6th. I don't know if Matt Harvey did this on purpose, but I love him for it. Kansas State is playing Army football team that day.
That's your jump that weekend?
That's the demo I get to be on.
I'm gonna say he did it on purpose. So I'm looking at the comments. I'm waiting for Matt to say something. We're a little bit behind with the delay and everything, but I'm gonna guess that was a little bit on purpose. That might have been for you,
right?
Just a little bit.
And then
are you jumping on that one? Are you actually jumping?
No. So I am not certified to be. I'm the ground crew.
Not certified.
Nope.
Is it due to injuries back? Do you jump at all anymore?
So I'm working on getting my skydiving license. And so that's going to be kind of the segue into this now. So to get your skydiving license, you have to do a minimum of 25 jumps. That is to earn your A license. So you have your A, B, C, D, and then you have your pro rating. Every Team Fast Track member that jumps into stadiums or racetracks or whatever, they are pro-rated skydivers.
Okay.
Matt Harvey can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe to get your pro rating, you have to land in a 10 by 10 area 10 out of 10 times to get your pro rated area, your pro rating rating. And so let's say you're on jump number 8 of your 10 pro rating jumps and you land outside of that area, you have to start back at 0.
Oh, so you could essentially go a long time.
Yeah, and so it's definitely something that our team prides ourselves in by having the best in the world, doing what we do. And
Yes.
so, there's not a team member that I wouldn't trust landing exactly where I needed them to land.
Yep.
You know,
Yep. Exactly.
they will put it right on the spot. They will wow the performance, and they will nail it 100 out of 100 times.
Yep. That's
And
why they're the
so,
pros, man.
so I'm working towards my skydiving license, my level A, but I'm battling a shoulder injury, and so that's been put on hold. But it's only a matter of time before I come back and I'm stronger and better, and I get my license. And
You're
then,
going to be there.
ultimate goal would be to work on getting to where a lot of my team members are. As a ground safety support specialist, GSS, my main function, and whoever else is a GSS, our main function is to establish a landing site for our team, make sure that it's safe. We're giving wind directions, we're giving wind readings, and we're setting up the landing zone.
Yep.
If it wasn't for us, our team members in the sky couldn't safely land.
Right.
So yeah, we don't have the Hollywood effect. Nobody wants to talk to us after the skydivers land, because they want to talk to the ones that, jumped out of the airplane at 4,000 feet and carrying, the American flag or Purple Heart flag or whatever.
Right.
But I'm not doing it for, the fame
Yeah.
and notoriety. I'm doing it for, the mission that we do. And that's honoring our fallen heroes and paying tribute to our Gold Star family members.
I think that's what makes it so hard for so many of us is that while it is incredibly rewarding and exciting and a bit selfish because we get to go do these things, we get to be at these events and meet these people. It's not done on our own, right? There's a whole team of people. Look at the Air Force Thunderbirds. I talk about them a lot on the show because I'm personally attached to them, right? My daughter's a crew chief with them, and she's a show line member, and they're constantly traveling. And you get to show up at these events, and you're talking to the first sergeant, the logistics guy, the parts guy, the hotel guy, right? Air traffic control. They're talking to the air boss, the other performers. Everybody has to do their job to get those airplanes just into the air, and then it is on those 6 pilots in the sky to perform their job, and then it's down. But what people don't understand is the amount of effort and time and training and practice that those guys put in during the week just to be able to go do that event. Right?
Right.
It's not just about me. I'm not the only one that is going
Mm-hmm.
to succeed or fail here. Right?
Yep.
We are all part of this plan. And there's my buddy Whiskey Pete chiming in. Pete Dohar from up here in Ohio. He is a Marine veteran. We won't hold that against him, but he chimes in when he can. He listens during work. So Pete, thanks, buddy. We just had a conversation with him yesterday. Thanks for being here today and watching. What would you say to the veteran or the first responder? Because you actually have both, right? You have both tags. You're a veteran, a first responder. They're going through it, right? They're struggling a little bit. Like you said, you're going through the motions. I'm doing life by day to day. That's all I'm doing. What would you say to them if they came to you and said, "Man, it just doesn't feel the same. I'm really having a hard time." And I mean, what would you say to them? How would you broach that conversation? Because it happens. It happens
does.
while we're at these places.
Yep. And it's just, you got to take day by day, and you have to start small. So if you can't take day by day, let's go hour by hour.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's 10 minutes till noon right now. Let's check in with you at 12:50. How are you doing
Mm-hmm.
within that hour? Okay, so we're gonna go hour by hour, and then let's get going towards achieving those bigger goals. Accepting, you know, hour by hour. Now we're gonna go 3 hours by 3 hours.
Yeah.
And build yourself up. I don't. You probably watched it, and Colonel or Admiral McRaven, Make Your Own Bed.
Make your own bed. Right. That's where I was going.
You have to set yourself up for small goals that are achievable, but also goals that are going to push you a little bit. You
Mhm.
know, so if you haven't listened to the speech by Admiral McRaven, you have to, because what he basically says is, first thing you should do when you wake up is make your bed. You
Mhm.
accomplished one goal already. You made your bed. So even if you go throughout the rest of the day not accomplishing any of your goals, you're going to come home to a freshly made bed that you did at the very beginning of your day.
What people don't realize is how satisfying
Right.
that is to crawl into a bed that is made.
Right.
I don't think people understand just how critical that can be for your day, for your mind, for your mental health. Those are all the buzzwords now, right? Mental health, trauma, trouble, all those buzzwords that people talk about now. And simply stated, for me, I cannot live inside of chaos inside of my own home.
Right.
I can't have a dirty kitchen. I don't want dishes piled up. I don't like laundry going for days, right? The dog toys need to be picked up. The blankets that you wrapped up in watching television the night before. Those things, people call it OCD. It's not OCD. I want order in my house because this is my space,
Right.
right? I kept my office clean. I kept my sites clean. I keep my house clean. And somewhere along the way, when I got out of the service, when I told you, I'm going to sleep in. I'm going to grow my beard. I'm going to get fat. I'm going to eat ice cream. I'm going to do all these things. What ended up happening was I'm not showering every day. I'm not shaving
Mhm.
every day. I'm not making my bed. I'm not doing the dishes, right? I'm not cooking appropriately. I'm ordering fast food. Now my weight's going up. My energy level's going down. My drive to do anything is going down. And eventually you got to make a decision. How long are you going to stay like this? And what I found that I miss is the structure. The one thing that I said I didn't want to live by, I need. I
Yep.
need to structure my own life. And that's where the discipline comes in, right? The Air Force, I had a schedule. I had a mission. Every day was a mission. Be there at whatever time, execute it this time, be done at this time. It might take longer, but this is the minimum time you're getting out of here. And then you got to be asleep for 8 hours, bottle to throttle, and all that good. Excuse me, I am having belly issues this morning. And it is not from Saturday Java Coffee. I just want to be clear there. We had a extra dose of protein in the protein shake this morning, so that's probably what we're dealing with this morning. It is not Saturday Java Coffee. You have to discipline yourself. You have to commit yourself to be your best you. You can't
Right.
allow outside influences to dictate your own self, right? You have to do what is right for you. If that means you have to get up at 5 o'clock so that you can wake up for 2 hours before you hop in the car and go to work, then get your ass up at 5 o'clock in the morning
Right.
and wake yourself up. Take that shower, do the extra time for your hair and your makeup, or pick out that outfit or whatever. So you're not rushed to get out the door and starting your day off in a cluster. You've already created the environment for the day by creating a cluster in your head because you're running 5 minutes late. Right?
Yep.
You can't do those sort of things. That's what I missed. That's what I didn't understand. And it took me years. I've been retired for 10 years now, and I took it all the way to 23 years and I shot up to 278 pounds within 2 years after getting out. And, I'm down to 180 pounds. So it takes time. It's an effort thing. It's a discipline thing. Are there going to be good days and bad days? Absolutely. Are you going to have, you're going to fall off that diet that you force restricted yourself on, or are you going to work for a healthier lifestyle as opposed to just a diet,
Yeah,
right?
and the quote, one of my favorite motivational speakers, and I was blessed and fortunate to meet him on a demo a couple months ago, Les Brown.
Yeah.
I listen to Les Brown at least once a month, if not more. And what he says is that you have to be hungry,
For
not
something.
not for food.
No.
You have to be hungry to achieve what you wanted to achieve in life. If you don't have that desire, you got to find something that gives you that desire.
Right.
Team FastTrax gives me that desire to achieve more, be better, and to do better.
Yep. You are not
you
wrong.
know,
You are
and
not wrong.
so, you know, and so, and if you know of any veterans, or if any veterans are that are listening to, to this, or are going to watch it later, and you struggle with that post-traumatic stress, or whatever, you have to find those right individuals that is going to push you to be better. If
Yep.
they're not pushing you to be better, and they're just allowing you to stay in that rut that you're in, you have to change.
You got to change. If you're not, if you're not, how did I said it? If you're not changing it, you're choosing it. So if you're choosing to be negative and surround that's my biggest thing. I don't like
Yep.
negative talk, right? So when I hear people that continuously bring that negative comment in or use the word but or can't and they're constantly turning every positive thing into a negative, bro, I got to go. Like I
Right.
got to go. I can't help you. I
Yeah.
cannot help you. If you're not willing to change the words that you're using, just the words, the simplest of things. If you're
Hmm.
not willing to change those words, there's nothing I can say to you that's going to change your mind. You're
Right.
stuck in that. But to the
Yep.
one that is tired of being sick and tired, who's tired of being upset and short fused and self-isolated and self-sabotaging all the time, bro, I can help you. You can help
Yep.
you. And the way that you do that is simply change those words, right? Start your morning off just a little bit different, right? Give yourself an extra 10 minutes. Don't put yourself in this imaginary box of time that you've created. You're the only one that can fix this. So
Right.
make that box a little bit bigger. Give yourself a little bit more time. We're getting older. We move slower. Our brains don't work as fast, right? So things aren't going to happen as quickly. And it's all a growth. It's all a growth. You have never been as old as you are today,
Right.
right? You have
Exactly.
never experienced today. You're not going to experience tomorrow if you don't make it through today. So let's
And
worry about
so
today.
last year, I believe it was, maybe a year ago or 2 years ago now, but either way, Team FastTrax took on a new motto, basically: lead, serve, inspire.
Yep. Yep.
And so, not only as a team, but they're also challenging each and every one of us individually to lead, serve, and to inspire. And
Yep.
so every time that I do a demo, or I'm doing something with Team Fast Track Warrior Weekend to Remember, people are like, "You jump out of airplanes?" I'm like, "Hell yeah, you got to jump out of it. You got to at least do it once." And
Once.
so I'm inspiring somebody to say, "Okay, I want to go skydive." Because if you've never been skydiving, there is nothing better of a feeling than jumping out of an airplane at 13,500 feet. Your
I didn't make it
problems,
that high. I got to 8,900. That's as high as I got.
your problems are gone. You know, um, the hardest part, about the whole skydiving adventure is it's not getting hooked up. It's not getting into the aircraft. It's when you get to that certain elevation and they open that door and you hear that rush of wind. And
Shit got real.
then you're kind of doing that crab walk. You're attached to another human being. You kind of do a
Yes.
funky little crab walk to the door, and then you look out the door and you're like, holy shit, that's 13,500 feet later. But as soon as you go out that door,
It's quiet.
every thought in your mind is gone. Because if
Gone.
you look around, and and all the skydivers or tandem skydivers are phenomenal for it, they will spin you around, not quick, but you can see for miles and
Mhm.
miles. And so the only thought in your head should be, holy shit, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And look at this view.
Yeah. It is. And I mean, that's what I did. I was the second to go out. We had nothing but delays. It was on my birthday a couple years ago. Weather storm came in, airplanes broke. We got pushed down, pushed down, pushed down, come back the next day. Like all these signs. I'm with my friend Danny. She just showed up. And her and I went together. She wanted to do it. Our spouses didn't. And we're like, let's go. And man, they had to call in an airplane from Beaver County or Butler County and bring it over here to East Canton. And good Lord, man, it was just her and I ended up going up. And when that door opened and the look on her face was just, oh my God, shit got real.
So I just
Shit
saw
got
there's a
real.
comment from Angie Zahn. So Bob and Angie I met at Warrior Weekend. Bob Zahn, he's a Vietnam veteran. Welcome home, Bob, if you're listening.
Hey, yes,
Um,
welcome home, Bob. Thank you.
but he was my ambassador the first time I ever
Oh,
went
no
through.
kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
And
cool. Thank you
so
for joining.
we get every year I get to see Bob and Angie Zahn and their daughter Jennifer. Just a phenomenal family. Um, I was blessed to be given one of Bob's challenge coins.
Hold on, let me make it full screen so we can see it. There you go.
So obviously it's the Huey, Chief Warrant Officer 2, Bob Zahn. So yeah.
Hell yeah, whoa. Hell yeah, whoa. Thanks for joining, Angie and Bob. Really appreciate you. You guys picked a good one to be an ambassador for, no doubt. The guy's I think he's got the mentality and the personality to do it, no doubt. So
But
hopefully I
back,
get to shake Bob and Angie's hand here at one of these events shortly.
if we can go back to the Warrior Weekend to Remember
Yeah.
event.
Yeah, do it.
So like I said, it's a 3-day event that's like, one thing after another. It's just the newcomers are coming in on Thursday, depending on their flights and their travel arrangements. And so Thursday is kind of like a chill day, and then Friday and Saturday is just we're moving.
Yep.
Typically Fridays are all day event at the drop zone where people are getting to jump out of an airplane, go on military aircraft rides. So this past year, so a couple weeks ago, we had the Huey from the Vietnam era that has been shot 3 times and flown in several missions in Vietnam. We got to go on rides in that and all sorts of different aircrafts. And then Saturday was the Jeep parade. We had over 150 Jeeps lined up, and and so each individual gets to basically pick whatever Jeep they want to ride in, and get the treatment that that we
They
deserve, and
deserve that they
yeah,
deserve.
yeah.
Absolutely.
And so this year we did it a little bit different. We had a concert in Miamisburg by Kevin. Can't remember his last name. I always draw a blank, but country music artist, Nashville recording artist. And then we do our, a nice fancy dinner after, and then like I said, we get the awkward goodbyes. But the nice thing about the Warrior Weekend to Remember event is that you're meeting other veterans from all over the United States that are combat related, service connected, and you're meeting Gold Star family members.
Mm-hmm.
So you learn that you're not alone, and that
Yep.
there's other people out there that are just mentally screwed up as you, and they accept you for that, and you accept them for the same thing. And so, Bob and Angie Zahn are, one of the first families that I met, but you get to meet exciting and new veterans each year. And so, Colonel Greg Getz,
Yeah.
I've
Yeah, I know, Colonel.
I've
Yeah.
got to see him 4 or 5 times now. Great guy. Obviously a true American hero. Um, you know, but then you also get to meet. And there's so many different veterans, but I'm just picking out a handful of them. But I don't know if you ever heard of Shiloh Harris.
Oh, I've met Shiloh and Greg. I was trying to get their books. I had them
Yeah.
sitting here. I didn't know you were going to bring them up, but
Yeah.
Colonel Gatson signed my book at the nice transition. Great job, by the way. Thank you very
Yep.
much. The Patriot Project.
Yep.
So, Tim Novelli
but
is actually your team chiropractor, right?
we'll get to that. Hold on. But
All
one
right,
more.
thanks.
But then you get to meet individuals like Gunny Sergeant Sam Deeds. He's also a member of Team FASTRAX. He's not only a brother to me, he's not also a friend to me, but he's also my mentor. I look up to Gunny Deeds, and and I love having him. But going through Warrior Weekend to Remember, you meet people that have extraordinary stories.
Yep.
You ever heard of Operation Baby Lift
No. Baby.
from
No.
Vietnam?
No.
Okay, so I 2 years ago I got to meet an individual named Ray Snedeker, born and raised right there, or lives right there in Ohio. Ray is a retired command sergeant. Yeah, command sergeant from the Air Force. I think I'm saying that rank right. Probably not.
No.
Whatever. But he was a loadmaster during Vietnam, and he was on Operation Baby Lift, where they were rescuing orphans from Vietnam.
Oh my God.
And the very first flight out of Vietnam with over 300 orphans on it crashed within the first like 20 minutes of the flight.
Oh my God.
So, you get to meet individuals like Ray that, you hear their stories and you're just like, that doesn't even compare what the hell I did, you know,
Yeah.
and it's never a measuring contest.
It's not a dick measuring contest. It's not a
I didn't want to
comparison.
say that word, but
That's all right. You know what? If we get shut off or whatever, that's fine. We'll find
right.
another platform to go to.
But yeah, but you get to meet these individuals that if you were never to meet them, you wouldn't understand, you would never know their stories. And so you get to carry on those legacies. And so then now you get to meet the purple or the Gold Star families and learn about, their son or daughter that has, that paid the ultimate sacrifice. And, with the Warrior Weekend to Remember, we're not trying to replace their loved one. We're trying to help fill that void,
Yeah, you're
and
letting them know
so,
that the sacrifice is appreciated. We still love you, and we're not going to forget about you. Come do some cool
right.
stuff with us, right?
Yep.
Get that diversion for just a little bit to know that, hey, you're still allowed to have a good time,
Yep.
right? You're allowed to remember them. We'll take the time to remember them, but we want you to be here and enjoy yourself and have a good
Right.
time. And that's really hard for some people, right?
Mhm.
Why do they deserve it? I don't deserve it. They're in that comparison mode, that dick measuring contest, that I
And
didn't do enough. And that's just not true, especially today's military being 100% volunteer, right?
right.
100% of us volunteered. None of us were drafted, right? There are no draftees left in the military right now. It's just not possible. DJ,
Thank
of
you,
course, is
DJ.
on there.
Yeah.
Is that one of your guys?
So she is, yep. So she is a spouse of a fallen police officer.
Oh,
And so she has a really cool decked out Jeep that honors the Thin Blue Line. And so I met DJ 5 years ago at the Warrior Weekend to Remember. And every person at Warrior Weekend has a special place in my heart. Even the new ones that are coming in. You know, it's it is truly something special, and I will work on getting you through the event.
okay. I'll
So,
work on being there then. Thank you very much. That's a shock. I appreciate
so
that very much.
I'll I will see what I can do. But
I
yeah,
appreciate that. That-
because me sitting here explaining it, DJ explaining it, the Zons explaining it to you, it doesn't do it justice until you actually do it.
and that's what we said about any of these motorsports events or these golfing events or anything that we send these guys on, right? I told you that I sat for weeks contemplating even going to my first Save 22 motorsports event because it wasn't something that I had been familiar with. I wasn't I was a race guy, but I wasn't an IndyCar kind of guy. I wasn't an open wheel 4-cylinder Honda. That's not my thing, right? I'm a big motor power. That's what I wanted to do. And Albert convinced me to just go. And
Mhm.
I really think it changed me. It let me know that it's number one, it's okay to not be okay. Number two, just because your skill set was over here doesn't mean you can't bring it over here too. You might not have ever thought about it being over there because you had this vision, right? This is what I need to be. But you know what? My skill set transferred right over into there. And the next thing you know, I'm being offered a job to go be a road mechanic for a 5-day event down in Virginia International Raceway.
Well,
And then you meet an Indy 500 champion, Al Unser Jr., who's their car, driving instructor, right? Like driving mentor for these kids. And he ends up having the hotel room next to mine. And we share a cup of coffee in the morning and essentially have an AA meeting one morning, right? So it just, you never know what's going to happen simply by going out of your comfort zone, which is self-isolation, self-sabotage. I only want to stay here. Everybody's against me. The world sucks. Hey, man, why don't you come sign up, right?
Yeah.
Go check out Team FasTrax. Go check out Blue Skies for the good guys and gals. Check out Warrior Weekend. Check out motorsports.com, or not motorsports.com, motorsports at safe22.vet. Get yourself out there. Go try something. You might not have been a drag racing fan, but give it a shot. You might, you don't know. You don't know. There's the IHRA has given us so many opportunities to just give away free tickets to veterans and first responders at our discretion, right? So why don't you want to come and check it out? It's a multiple day event. You don't have to stay all day. The big boys run it at late at night. Pro mods run throughout the day. Like there's something for everyone at these events. I don't know what else to tell you. Pete's got to go. Thanks, Pete. Appreciate you stopping by, brother. We will talk to you soon. I think that's the biggest thing that I can say when I talk to these people, and we meet them where they're at. We meet them at the event, and they come up and they talk, and we'll bring a handful of veterans in, or give away 100 tickets or whatever. But it's up to them to come talk to us, right? We don't make them come stay with us. But the one thing that I keeps coming back up at these conversations is I had no idea there was anything wrong. I had no idea there was anything wrong with me, right? They just keep doing what they're doing. And there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with you, right? Let's get that clear. There's nothing wrong with you for feeling the way that you feel.
Right.
Period. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong. You just might need a different perspective on what happened. You might need to turn around and look at it from a different angle, from someone else's perspective. If you're a religious individual, you might need to give it up to God, right? You might need to just say, I have no control over that. I'm going to have to leave that in your hands. You might have to, accept responsibility for something that you've been denying. You might, I don't know what it is. You don't know what it is, but come out to the event and hang out with us, because Matt said he struggled. You all know I struggled. And here we are now, and we're doing things, right? And we're getting involved. And it might not look anything like what you ever imagined your life to be at 50 years old, because mine sure doesn't. My life does not look like anything I thought it would at the age of 50. And I got to be honest with you, it's 10 times better than I imagined it would be.
Right.
When you can sit back and go, hey man, I'm not in a wheelchair, right? My back hurts and my legs aren't working right, but I'm not in that wheelchair yet. And my shoulder's been replaced and I can't throw a fastball anymore. And but there's so many other things you can do, right? There's so many other things you can do. Don't get tied up on the things that you can't, right? Or that don't bring you the joy that they used to. Don't get tied up in that, right?
Absolutely.
Be able to grow. My daughter uses the word malleable, right? Tiffany, the Air Force Thunderbird, coming back at her dad with educational words and shit, right? Malleable, which means moldable, right? I can shape it into what I want to be. And she said that's what she wants to be. She wants to be malleable. She wants to be able to be molded and changed into what is needed for the situation. And I don't know where the hell that came from, because that ain't my words. But man, kudos to her. Right? Because she's seen her dad struggle. She's seen her dad go through these things. She's the only one of the kids that have ever seen me drunk. All the other ones never saw me drunk. They weren't old enough to remember me drinking. So Tiffany's the only one that remembers that. So all three of my kids get a different version of dad, or have a different memory of dad. Right? So why are you yourself putting yourself in this one block of I'm this POS because of one event? Right? You're not. Right. I can't say that enough. You're not, right? Come out, hang with us, talk to us about our struggles. And, you do it. I do it. We get way more personal when it's one-on-one, right? And we see something in somebody's face or an action, or they say a word, and it clicks with us, and we're like, man, why don't you come back here privately, right? I think there's something here. And 9 times out of 10, man, they'll absolutely come back and talk to you and hang out. And I think that's where the giving back part is, right? You talk about leading and then performing and inspiring. You know, you have to do the right things to be able to just be in that spot. So my understanding of being a human being is I'm supposed to pass on my knowledge to the next one. And no matter what that is, right? Is if it's just my kids, then fine, it's just my kids. But I have a very unique skill set that less than 3% of this country has. So do you. We're veterans. I have a very unique perspective because I deployed so many times. You have a unique perspective because you were blown up, right? Everyone's perspective is just a little bit different.
Exactly.
But the emotions are all the same. The feelings are all the same. The isolation, the loneliness, the I didn't do enough. How do I fix this? What do I need to do? I'm not good enough. Those are all things that we all go through. And to have that individual, you call him a 2 a.m. friend, we call him a 3 a.m. friend. Have that guy that you can bust that out on. Man, something ain't right. This don't feel like it's working. Am I thinking correctly? Am I not thinking correctly? What am I doing? And the best thing that Safe 22 did for me was Jason said, I don't know. I've never been there, but I know somebody who does. Why don't you call him? And then I called him, right? There's steps in all these.
Networking.
There's steps in all this stuff. And we're getting a little long. We've been on for about 2 hours and 15 minutes. You and I have said we could do this for hours. We could absolutely do this for hours. I don't want to get that far into it. I really think 2 hours is enough. I'm excited. I want to get Nicole on. Nicole's
absolutely
got her own unique story, and just what an incredible individual she is in the 2 hours that I got to meet her. And, you know, she sent me a couple of texts throughout the weeks. Just a great human being. I mean, that's all there is for that one. And, you know, her own struggles and what she's doing to overcome and how she inspires young ladies, and just the amount of people that we get to meet and share these stories with. That's where you need to keep your eyes open. That's where you need to keep your mouth shut for a minute and listen to what they've gone through, and then understand that if they can do it, so can you. So can you. You can do it. Matt, thank you for taking the time today. Really,
it was a pleasure. It was fun.
This has been a lot of fun. I don't know if you recognized it, but you were purple at Camp Keating. You're wearing purple today with your Team Fast Track shirt. I caught that first thing this morning.
Well, this is the blue sky. Blue skies for the good guys. Yeah, the blue skies. So,
all right.
But yeah,
I just thought that was a nice little touch. So I noticed it if nobody else did. I can't wait to see you again, brother. I think you and I are going to hook up for the Patriot Ball. We can talk about that another time. You're always welcome to come on the show, share your story, share some stuff. I think this was a great little couple hours. I got to listen, and you know, it's going to be out there forever now in the interwebs, right? So thank you for everybody that watched. If you need something from Team Fast Tracks, their email is right down here below. We're not going to give out Matt's personal information. If you want to talk and connect with Matt, please get a hold of me and I will get a hold of him. You can email me right here at TuesdayTalk@save22.vet. Don't forget about the IHRA and motorsports. We are going to be available September 3rd through the 5th. I think I said that wrong.
And then
I did 4th
where
through
we
the
can
6th.
remember is where we can remember's website is bs3g.org.
I just had it up here and I lost it. So I put up there the Warriors weekend. What, bs3g.org?
Yeah.
Oops, that didn't work. Boy, that ain't working either. What the?
Yeah, it's up there.
Did it work?
Yeah, it's up. I see it in the text.
Okay. Let's see if we can go to channel. I don't know. Anyway, it's up there. It's there. It doesn't have the line through it. Again, I'm 50 something years old. I don't understand a lot of this technology stuff. But anyway, again, Matt, thank you, man, very much. Go check out Clint's book, The Red Platoon, if you want more on the story. We did talk about it briefly. It is very accurate. Matt said he's read it, and it's really something. Thank you. We didn't get to how you felt after the Afghan pullout in 19 and what that did to you, but you know what? Let's save some stuff for another time, shall we?
Absolutely.
All
I'll be
right,
back,
brother. Good. I'm glad. Thank you again. We will talk to everyone later. Don't go anywhere, Matt. Thank you very much, everyone.